Okay, so welcome to the Making the Most of Practice violin class, and I just have 5 topics to go over briefly. Questions about it. If you're watching the replay, you can send me questions about it, and I'll answer those too. So just know that I'm available to answer your questions about this stuff. So our first topic is about time management. So practice is the most important part of learning how to play the violin. So you have to learn how to get your practice in, how to make it a priority, and make sure it happens every single day. Now, when I say every single day, I mean 5 or 6 days a week. I do think you should take a break, at least 1 day a week, but um, you've got to schedule it into your routine and schedule it into your life and make it a priority. And if you have to rearrange other things so that you can get your practice in at a different time, that's what you're going to have to do in order to move your practice forward, or your violin playing forward, because practice is so essential. So schedule it, make it a priority, make it a non-negotiable priority on your daily schedule. And another way you can do that is to kind of piggyback it onto something that you already do. So maybe after your morning routine, maybe you could get up 30 minutes earlier than you usually do so that you can fit practice in at the end of your regular morning routine before you start your day. That would be one example of how to do that. So piggyback it on something that you're already doing, and that's how you can set yourself up for success as far as practice goes, which, like I said, is #1 priority if you're going to actually advance with your violin playing. And then another thing for time management, maybe you do practice every day, but you feel like your practice is all scattered and disorganized. So to that, I would say set timers in your practicing. Decide how long you're going to spend on each item. Priorities in your practice, whether it be warming up or a certain piece that you have coming up, whatever it might be. Make a practice schedule basically, and then use on task with that. So that is pretty effective if you're just like, okay, this measure is giving me trouble. I'm going to spend 3 minutes on it. And you start a 3-minute timer, and just no matter what happens, you're just working on that measure for those 3 minutes. They're going to be very focused and effective 3 minutes of practice work. So that's how I would handle that. You don't want to be spending your whole hour of practice time on one piece. You want to, balance it out a little bit, get the variety in there, get some time in there to play for fun. That is all really important. So use timers to help you stay on track. And then my second thing that I wanted to share is hand practice. So you sit down to practice, and then your pet decides it needs to go outside. Okay, you have to stop and let your pet outside, right? You can't just pretend that doesn't need to happen. So my solution, of course, to that would be make sure you did that before your practice. And then there's all kinds of things. Your phone can ring. You can get Facebook notifications that distract you. There's all sorts of stuff. You could think of some bill that you need to pay that you're going to forget about, or maybe it's already past due, whatever. Have a piece of paper nearby that you can just scribble that down and be like, okay, now I'll deal with that later. It came to my mind, I need to write it down, but now I'm done with it for now because right now I'm practicing. And so, because 30 minutes, maybe an hour, however long you practice, is really not that long. Whatever that to do is that you needed to do can wait. And then find your ideal workspace as well. That's another way to handle distractions, in that sometimes your distractions, you're practicing in the family room with your family around and they are distracting, okay? That's not going to be your ideal workspace. Maybe you're practicing outside. I like to do that. But the neighbors are working on a project. That happens to me all the time, and on those days I can't practice outside, right? So finding your ideal workspace, your ideal environment, where you can get stuff done, that's going to be practicing. And then any distractions that would normally be in there or could come in there, you try to deal with it ahead and get it out of the way so that it's not going to be a problem. And then, of course, silence your devices. That's a big one in our day and age. Silence your computer, silence your phone, silence your tablet, whatever it is, turn it off, get it out of the room, whatever you have to do. But don't be letting that distract you. And I know, like, you're recording videos probably to post for accountability to Instagram or whatever, Facebook. That's important. You're going to need to have your device handy to do that. But um, get that done and then get rid of the device or whatever. Turn it off and only turn it on for that duration of your practice. Whatever works for you, but I know that that is part of practice, and I tend to do the same thing. I open Instagram to make a video to post. The next thing I know, I'm checking notifications and replying to messages, and 30 minutes later, I'm like, I'm trying to practice. What am I doing on Instagram? And I mean, for me, it is my work, and so then I give myself a little bit more grace with that because, it's my job, but it still is a distraction from my focused practice. So that would be my suggestion for that. Make sure you're dealing with your devices and getting those silent. Okay, number 3 is a big one, setting goals. This is super important. A lot of times people they're just like, I just want to play violin, or I just want to learn vibrato, or whatever it is, they want to do that. Well, how are you going to know when you accomplish that goal? How are you going to know the violin? You said you wanted to play violin. It's not you can't gauge your progress on a goal like that very well. So you have to get more specific and have actions that are going to get you to your goals, and then just so that you can check it off and be like, okay, I did that. I worked on, I did these certain exercises for vibrato, and I completed this whole, maybe it's a video series on YouTube. I completed this video series of exercises that's supposed to help me learn vibrato. Now you know you made progress on your goals. And if you are making before and after videos, make a before video of where you're at with vibrato when you start that video series, and then make an after video when it's over. And you'll probably notice a big difference in your vibrato. So that's one example. Learning to play violin, again, not a specific goal. So perhaps you're going to say, okay, I want to be able to play such and such piece. That's a lot better, because when you get there and you can play such and such piece, you're going to say, yes, I accomplished my goal, I made progress, this is working, I'm moving forward. Okay? So that is what I'm talking about with setting specific goals. Now, that would be a long-term goal. Okay? Learning such and such piece, maybe it's a concerto, maybe you don't want to go. And I mean, if let's say you set a big goal of, I want to learn the Mendelssohn concerto. That is way out there, and that's a good goal to have. I think you should set long-term goals like that, but you need stepping stones to get you there. So, then you're going to say, okay, I need to learn meditation from Thais, and that's kind of a stepping stone, okay? And before that, I need to learn Gavotte in G minor. And before that, I need to learn, whatever it is, make sure that they are logical stair steps that are going to get you there. And be specific enough to plan that all out. I think that that's a really good thing to do. And then, of course, reward yourself when you reach these goals. Don't just move on and just be like, okay, on to the next goal. No. You've got to give yourself some kind of a compliment, victory, reward, something that matters to you, something that's going to motivate you, something that you want to have or do or whatever. That's going to motivate you to work hard to get to that point. Okay? So long-term and short-term goals, and being really specific with those goals. And then number 4, I have a couple practice treasures for you. So these are just practice tips, and they're super effective. So bite-sized pieces is the first one. And it's really hard to get people to understand exactly what a bite-sized piece is. But what I usually use to illustrate this to my students, especially if they're kids, it works better with kids. But let's say you have a dinner plate, okay, full of dinner, like a 3-course meal. You got potatoes and meat and vegetables and probably dessert. And So all of this, you you don't want to grab the whole plate and eat it in one bite, right? That would just be disastrous. It would end up all over you, all over the floor. It would be a huge mess, okay? That's what happens when you get a piece of music and you just start at the beginning and you play all the way through to the end. You just ate your whole dinner in one bite. Tried to, okay? You accomplished nothing. You actually made matters worse. You made problems for yourself. You made things harder for yourself. So don't do that, okay? Take a bite-sized piece. A bite-sized piece can be as small as 2 notes. It really depends on how advanced the piece is. In a lot of the pieces that I work on now, concertos and stuff, 2 notes, okay? A lot of my student stuff, they're kind of intermediate, most of them right now, they're working 1 measure. That's a bite, okay? For little kids, usually it's about 1 piece is a bite size. So how do you know what a bite size is? You need to be able to remember if the beginning of it was out of tune, played a wrong note, did the wrong rhythm, whatever. If you're playing an entire line of a crazy complicated piece, by the time you get to the end of that line, you have no idea what happened to you in the first measure of that line. That's too big of a section. That's basically how I gauge what a bite size is. So keep that in mind. And then repetition on those bite sizes. Don't just play one bite and then move to the next bite. That doesn't work either. You've got to do 1 bite 3 to 5 times before you move on to the next little piece. Okay. And then the second kind of practice treasure that I have for you today is add a note practice. I didn't name this one. One of my students actually named this. It's just how he referred to it. And that works. So add a note practice is basically, let's say you start at the beginning of the piece. Now, keep in mind, you want to practice both ways. You want to do bite-sized practice. You want to do add a note practice. You want to do all sorts of different types of practice to get a variety, a well-rounded approach, I guess, to your piece. So, just because I'm telling you 2 totally different ways to practice doesn't mean I'm contradicting myself. It means you should be practicing different ways. Okay, so add a note practice. Let's say you start at the very beginning of your piece, you play 1 note. And then you start over and you play 2 notes this time. You start over in 3 notes, 5 notes, 6 notes, 7 notes, etc. Okay? And then what you're going to do, you just keep working systematically through your piece that way. Now, after you've done like 3 measures, then you're going to have to like kind of start to piggyback, if that makes sense. So you're going to go, do your 3 measures and then start at measure 2 and go to 4 measures. Then start at measure 3 and go to 5 measures and work forward that way. Because if you keep doing add a note practice all the way through an entire page, that's not going to work. That would take eternity. Okay. So those are my 2 practice treasures for you. And then, all right, next up, I've got, see, here I am doing a video for you guys, and I've got device distractions in the middle of my video. Can't be avoided, right? Okay, so the last thing, taking your practice and your playing to the next level. And I'm actually going to start a video on my phone because computer just ran out of space. My iPad won't record it, so we're gonna add my phone for the second part of this video. Good thing I have everything, right? Okay, here we go. So now I'm trying to make sure that I have a replay for you of the entire class. Okay, so taking your playing to the next level, what do you need to do that? You need to, whether that be in an online platform or in a orchestra locally or a chamber group or a little band in somebody's garage. Okay, that happens all over the country. If too, I know you can find that. So try to search for that if you don't have something like that already. Playing with a group is going to motivate you a lot to practice. It's going to push you out of your comfort zone. They're going to ask you to do stuff you've never wanted. You're the only violinist there, maybe. Excuse me. Or whatever. So definitely find a group to play with. And I mean, like I said, online is okay, I think, but definitely be active with other people playing your music. And then the second way that you can take your playing to the next level, of course, is by private study or, well, private study, basically, yes. So you can do private study with me either through lessons or through the study group. And so with private lessons, starting in the fall, you can have 30 minutes to an hour of one-on-one time with me back and forth, just like this through video, where I give you feedback and you play for me, and it's just like a regular lesson. So, or you can find a local teacher, and that's great, if you have one in your area, right? But if you'd like to live out in the country or out in the woods like I do, there probably isn't a local teacher nearby. So that's where I come into. And then the study group is super cool because it takes the online accountability that you're getting in Instagram practice challenges or Facebook groups that you might be part of. It takes it to the next level in that we do a weekly studio class where everybody submits a video and I submit a video answer back to them. That happens every single week. And then also every single week I give you an opportunity to ask me questions where I get on a video and I answer all the questions together. So not only are you learning the answers to your questions, but you're learning the answers to everybody else's questions too. It's super valuable. And then throughout the week we have daily prompts that you respond to and post your playing and your struggles and your, whatever it might be, technical stuff, figuring out how to put new strings on, whatever it might be, and I'm there to help you. And the study group members are there to support and help each other too. So it's a super good way and have that support, have that accountability, and also get some personal feedback for your violin playing. So there is that option. And then let's see, I think that was everything that I was